Hello and welcome to the End Step. Maria Bartholdi joined by Paul Cheon, Rich Hagan, and Simon Gertzen, here to discuss everything that has transpired at Pro Tour Ixalan. We're going to start with Simon and your card of the weekend.
It didn't win the Pro Tour, spoiler alert. I picked Angel of Invention as the card of the weekend.
Why did you pick this card, Simon?
Mostly because of Pascal Maynard's performance with his God Pharaoh's gift deck. Angel of Invention just did so much for him, and it is not the combo piece. It is not God Pharaoh's gift. It's not refurbished. But if this card didn't exist, then all of this wouldn't be as dominant as it was all day or all weekend. The combination of flying, vigilance, lifelink, haste, making the creature a 4/4, all of this plays beautifully together, and even the ability other creatures you control get +1/+1 can be hugely relevant, even make it very difficult for the opponent to actually beat you in combat.
Paul, an honourable mention at the end there, because I love drawing cards, and those glint sleeve siphoners for Seth at the back end of the final.
Yeah, I remember when this card was first kind of previewed, I was just like, oh, this card looks really exciting. It's just going to draw you a ton of cards. And you got to see the true upside of Glint Sleeve Siphoner in this matchup. In a matchup where your opponent not really playing a whole lot of blockers, not a whole lot of creatures, your deck can generate a ton of energy. Seth Manfield drew like 6 cards with those Glint Sleeve Siphoners. I was so jealous.
Yeah, but the card of the weekend is Angel of Invention.
All right, well, what about the team of the weekend? We are kicking off the team series once again here. Brian David Marshall is here to tell us what he's chosen.
You know, it feels like every time we did this last season, Maria, we ended up with Team Genesis as the team of the day. They were one of the front-running teams throughout the tournament last year. And, you know, once again, they surge out into the lead here in this last match at the Pro Tour. Seth Manfield carries Team Genesis over. And you know what? Even though he was the only player from the team playing in the top 8, you know, you still saw his teammates, you know, play testing for him, arguing with him, saying, come on, we got to get this card in there. We got to get this card out of there in the sideboard. You know, really like a concerted effort, and congratulations to Team Genesis leading the Pro Tour Team Series after the first event here during this Pro Tour season.
Thanks so much, BDM. And we know Genesis was up in the finals with Musashi earlier this year in Boston.
Right, now Musashi didn't have a great weekend, but they were still in the top half. And look, this is one of those things, it's a marathon, not a sprint, usual thing. We've got 4 Pro Tours this time around. Last time it was just 3. This time we have 4. So all you really want to do is not have a disaster, right? Because in the big teams, any one of the 6 could be a Pro Tour champion, right?
Yep.
You know, if you're a Channel Fireball, the fact that Mike Sigris goes out in the quarterfinal, next time it's Luis winning, it's Ben Stark winning a Pro Tour. So you're trying to just maximize your shots at the win, but not be too far behind. So when you start looking at the team series further down for your friends and people, just consider that's what you're trying to do. Be in the mix. It's not about being 1 and 2. It's about being 1 to 8, not 17 to 24, something like that.
So Genesis is our team of the day. What about our player of the day? I wonder who it could be.
Maria, it's obviously Seth Manfield of Team Genesis, our Pro Tour Ixalan champion. Seth, you talked in the feature match area there during the award ceremony about playing this game for 17 years.
Yeah.
Your first Pro Tour was Pro Tour Geneva.
Yeah, I think that was like 11 years ago or something. So it's been a while.
What were you thinking about as you went to that Pro Tour? Like, were you dreaming about this moment?
I mean, my first Pro Tour, I don't go in thinking I'm going to win, because you can't really. You never know. You have to run extremely well. But I've always thought, you know, one day, you know, it's going to be my time, you know. I had the confidence. I knew I could do it. And so today was that day. But yeah, I started at the Pro Tour when I was young, and just playing.
What's the most important skill a player can learn over the course of that, you know, long career that you've employed here at the Pro Tour?
Well, honestly, just working with fellow players. You can't know everything yourself, you know. So listening to other people's ideas, mixing their feedback with your own. I'm not going to do something unless I believe it, but I'll listen to other people, take their advice, and that's really helped improve my game with Genesis.
Yeah, one of the things, we had Brad Nelson in here before the semifinals, and Brad was saying, like, man, I hope he listens to me on these rogue refiners. He's got to get these rogue refiners out of there. And he said you guys were arguing about it, not like, not throwing pots and pans at each other or anything, but, you guys were, both had a very strong opinion. How did that play out for you?
Well, I boarded out 3. He told me to board out 4. I boarded 3 out. Rogue Refiner, it's the staple card of energy, so I just couldn't bring myself to bring out the 4th.
Now, obviously, you don't go into Pro Tour, as you said, expecting that I'm going to win, but you had to feel pretty good about a member of Team Genesis being in the mix for the win, given the long lead up to this event, given the experience and the deck tuning skills on your team. Can you talk a little bit about that deck process?
Yeah, I mean, I'm an aggressive player, so I was playing mono red, Ramunab red, for most of testing. I was playing mono black aggro. I was playing Teamer because I played with that before, and it was really just like a few hours. It was like 10 p.m. like when I was like, you know what, people are beating me with Sultai. I'm gonna jump on board. People have been playing me. I hadn't really played with it much, but I saw what other people were doing, and it turned out to be a really great deck.
Now, if someone was thinking about taking this deck maybe to Grand Prix Atlanta next weekend, what's one simple piece of advice you have for someone playing Sultai Energy in Standard right now?
Don't miss your triggers like I do. Count with Winding Constrictor. If you hit them with Long Tuska, make sure to put your energy out there. As long as you get that right, the deck's great.
All right, one last question, and we're gonna send it back to the desk. You're a Hall of Fame voter. And let's just say you were looking at a Hall of Fame ballot and you saw a resume that had 4 Pro Tour top 8s, pretty great record at Grand Prix level, a world champion. Is that someone you would consider voting for? Don't answer. But congratulations on a great weekend here, Seth Manfield, our player of the day.
I do.
Thanks so much, BDM.
I'm pretty sure I would.
Hard locked. Hard locked.
Sounds good to me. Congratulations, of course, to Seth Manfield. One day is going to be my time, says Seth, and I think a lot of players around the world can identify with that as well. Tim and Riley are down in our feature match area right now to give us their match of the day.
Well, Riley, the dust is settling here in New Mexico. We have had a fantastic tournament, and picking out matches on the finals day, it's always going to be a tough prospect. But you know what was cool about today? A little bit of a cop-out, but you know what? I've got the microphone. I'm going to do it anyway. Every single one of our matches in this top 8 was a distinct matchup. 2 different decks playing off each other a little bit differently. We had no duds at any point this weekend. And you know what? On this Sunday, you wouldn't be hard-pressed to pick out any of those matches to be a winner. Were there any that stuck out to you specifically?
Well, look, it is a bit of a cliche, it is a bit of a cop-out, but once again, we're the ones with the microphones, so whatever. We're going to say this. Every single one of these matches had something to them. There were no dudskis. Every single one was an excellent game of Magic with lessons to learn from all of them. Something that stood out for me, though, I have to say, was where we opened with Sigrist versus Islandfeld, because this was a real David and Goliath story. We had Mike Sigrist, an established player, one of the best in the biz, up against a guy who top-8'd his very first Pro Tour. And there were, the hearts and minds of people around the Magic community were divided across this. We had the rookie versus the veteran. And I think the way that the games played out, the way that we saw the cold and the calm expertise of Mike Sigrist against the energy of Islandfeld, who, by the way, impressed every single one of us with his humility, his positivity, his energy. It's a game worth re-watching for the lessons involved in it, and of course the result, which at the end was so complex, Tim, so many people, very difficult to get across it, myself included. But no, look, this was really one for the ages, the entire top 8, and we're not going to fault you for wanting to go back and watch every single one of the matches that have transpired here.
Yeah, I mean, Ellenfeld was running around like a chicken with 6 legs at round 15 when he qualified for Bilbao. When he made it into the top 8, well, he was just agog with excitement. And there was a moment in his quarterfinals match where he sat down against Mike Sigrist and he said, "I'm just super happy to be here." And you know what? Mike Sigrist looked him in the eye and said, "Me too. This is the best place in the world to be right now." And you could see they were both having a blast. It was a fantastic match, as were all of our matches in this top 8. It's just been a fantastic day here at Pro Tour Ixalan.
They are so right. Simon, as the dust settles, as Tim put it, what's your takeaway from this tournament? Is there a moment that stands out for you?
There's a personal moment, yes. It was a really tiny thing, which I think makes it even better because there was so much delivered in a single sentence. I was about to cover Seth Manfield playing his quarterfinals against Guillaume Martignon. Sultai Energy against Jeskai approach. And there was it wasn't quite clear how this matchup would play out, because looking at the cards, the individual cards, you didn't know how it would go from a technical perspective. So I walk up to Cory Baumeister and I look him in the eyes, and he just says, Guillaume, he is not playing any fumigates. And that sentence gave me all I needed to know, because it meant that from a strategic perspective, from a really high-level perspective, all of Team Genesis had understood what a downside that is and how Seth can actually utilize that information to basically outplay Guillaume, who had been outplaying players with Settle the Wreckage all weekend. Having a lot of instants in your deck certainly puts the burden of complexity on your opponent. But once Deckless Republic, he didn't have Fumigate. That's it.
Awesome. What about a Maria moment?
Well, I've got to say, when Sam Eilenfeld made the top 8, I mean, just incredible. A player here at his first Pro Tour. Obviously, he's one of my buddies, and I just know that chat loved him. They were cheering him on, just like the David versus Goliath scenario that we've been talking about. And it's kind of a player living the dream that so many people have as Magic players, which is just working and grinding at GPs, at RPTQs across the country to make it to the game's biggest stage. And then when you do, making top 8 of your first tournament, couldn't happen to a nicer guy.
Yeah, breathtaking stuff. All right, Paul Cheon, you've spent a lot of time in the booth and plenty of time here at the desk. What's your takeaway from Pro Tour Ixalan?
I think the moment that I enjoyed watching the most was just Game 5 of the Pro Tour Finals. So much tension, so much on the line. Before the game starts, Pascal gives Seth Manfield a fist bump. At the end of the day, we're playing a game, you know, and these guys are great friends. They've tested together, and just, you know, to be kind of have that lightheartedness still going on, recognizing that, look, you know, we're playing a game, we're having fun, a lot's on the line, but look, we're still friends, we're still gonna be friends at the end of this. Even when Seth Manfield had the win on the stack, Pascal just takes off his headset, gives him a hug, and congratulates him for winning the Pro Tour.
And so, Pro Tour Ixalan comes to an end. For everyone here, we thank you for being part of the greatest show on earth, because there really is nothing like the highest level of Magic when, in some ways, everything is on the line, but in some ways, there's nothing on the line, because it is just a game. We hope you enjoy the continuing story of Ixalan, whether you're a dinosaur, a pirate, a merfolk, or a vampire, oh my. We leave you with the news that Seth Manfield from Team Genesis has navigated his way with Sultai Energy to the top of the heap. Take care, we'll see you soon around the wonderful world of MTG.